You have questions, we have answers. This is Jane Muller.
And this is Ken Muller. Welcome to our show, all about real estate with Ken and Jane. Today, Jane, I can't believe it. 3 months of the 2023 are in the books. How time flies when you're having fun, right?
I don't know what I'm having fun, but definitely time flies.
Well, time will fly whether you're having fun or not. So you might as well have fun and enjoy the ride because you can't.
Exactly.
So it keeps on. Time keeps on ticking, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we're So you know what it means. The end of the quarter means there's numbers to go through, but we're not going to get
your
too
favorite thing.
But
Data.
we're not going to get too heavy in the numbers. We just want to kind of recap the market. But before we do that, we want to preface that with the key factors for the market update. You typically what we look at are the sales, the number of homes that sold, because that's concrete data that tells you really what's moving and
That's
shaking and
past.
moving.
Yes.
Active listings tells you what's on the market that's available to buy. Current, right?
And explaining why the sales result and the current and a little bit in near future.
Yeah, and then the other two, which again you're going to get into, we don't weigh as heavily. The price trend is something that is kind of like a median number they use, so it's really you have to take it with a grain of salt because you've got numbers at the high end homes, low end homes. So it's just the median point that the Central Jersey data captures, but it's not really indicative of necessarily if it's up or down versus one quarter or
worse another. Yes.
Right. And then
annual one probably better.
Right.
Get a handle on how much the value increased rather than just by month or by quarter.
Right.
Yes,
and then days.
absolutely.
And lastly, number 4 would be the days on the market. How many days from the time the home was listed until it, I guess, went under contract is what they
or
use.
under attorney review,
Right.
whatever, when you change the status of the listing in MLS. For the last one, Ken, I just would like to clarify because it's not only confusing the general public, even the agent get confused from time to time. In Central Jersey, many years ago, Central Jersey changed the rules, marking the listing from active to under attorney review. It's optional. What that mean is this is both sides story, right? One side is they want some buyers and a buyer agent would like to protect their rights, so you should mark it under attorney review. But the other point is from the seller point of view, so we don't have a solid contract yet. Anytime you could walk away, and then what do you leave me to, right? So the both side has plus and minus. From my personal experience, right? I mean, when I represent a buyer, a lot of more earlier in my career, I always make sure the buyer chose the lawyer. One consideration besides many others is the speed, right? They have to be a fast reply, not just always not available. Because when we under attorney review in New Jersey, both sides can walk away without any or without any reason. So in the hot market the past 3 years, obviously very easy for buyer lose the house because the seller could have a higher offer or the people didn't get a house. Now they bid crazy. So obviously it's very important for the buyer side attorney to get out the review, make it under contract. The day on the market, that's why if the agent marketed the listing from under attorney review, say for example, you put a house on market on Thursday, by Friday you under attorney review. But for most agents, don't market until we officially under contract. That could give you another anywhere from 3 to 10 days. It depends, right, how the system works.
Right, but it gives a general trend, more or less, because typically attorney review can last from 1 day to maybe a week. Hopefully it's done in a week. So the days on the market, whether it's marked at the time the property goes under attorney review or a contract, it's still more or less, it's still a general number.
Yeah, general number. Yes, absolutely. And also that doesn't take care of, say, for example, if the contract died during the transaction, for example, the home inspection, and or the buyer didn't get a mortgage. Sometimes the listing agent or seller would like to call the backup rather than put back on the market. So in that case, they can just continue with a new buyer, but they just change agent's name from the previous one to the new one. So in that case, even though the data market doesn't reflect that change,
right? So the clock for the days of the market would stop regardless if a new buyer replaces the former buyer.
Yes, that's correct. That's why the market, the day on the market, is good indication. But once again, it's important. But in the slow market, that's more important in my opinion.
Right.
Yeah.
So those are the primary 4 factors that we use to analyze the market conditions. There's another another term that some people refer to, absorption rate, which is more applicable in the slower markets. And the absorption rate is in simplistic terms, is how fast the existing inventory is being gobbled up, how much they're eating, gobble, 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 right? That's really what it is, of how much you're absorbing it, how much you're consuming based on what's out there. How long does it take the buyers or the current market to buy up that inventory?
Mm-hmm. That's as you point out, Ken, in the slower market, you often hear that term from the listing agent particularly, when they sit down with the seller, try to agree on the listing price and the value. So the agent often brought it up, absorption rate, and say, hey, this is what you want. But based on the current inventory, it take 3 months, absorption rate and to do. So therefore, do you want to do that, or you want to price better and we can get a fast result for you? And especially when the market is still going down, it's not the longer you're on the market, the more you get. When upswing market, if you slow moving seller, you get a benefit, because if you sold it in 2020, you think, oh my God, I get really good number 2020 in September, but 2021 comes is more. 2022 January, you get much more. So in upswing market, the slow action may get you better, but when the market change, when the market goes slow, so it's not as how long you're on the market, the more you get. Generally speaking, the longer you're on the market, the less most likely you're going to get.
Right, because the listing becomes stale. It loses
and then
interest.
The market is going down too. You get hit by 2 hammers. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Right. All right. So, and likewise with the busy season, you don't hear that term mentioned like the last few years, the absorption rate, because it's basically, it's NA. It's not applicable because the inventory is so low, the market is so hot that everything that's on the market is not only getting gobbled up, there's fighting to eat it.
Yes, that's right. And nowadays it's like, one weekend kind of thing, anything from 3 to 5 days or 7 days. If you had a 2 weekend and people say, what's wrong? Why it takes so long?
That's right.
There's opposite question now.
The expectation is to receive an offer within a few days, or by the end of the weekend. If you put a house goes on the market on a Friday or Saturday, and then by Monday morning the offers start.
5 to 7 days or 10 days.
Yeah, again, it depends on the house. Every house has its own circumstances, but that's happened in quite often.
That also depends on the season, right? In January, February, and March, first quarter, pretty much it happened faster. Last few years actually, from July, August is summer season. A lot of people went on vacation, so they may be slower. Especially last year when the interest rate suddenly jumped to over 7 in June. That's kind of shocked the market, stopped the market for quite a while, quite a few weeks, in a month even to come. So that's really, in that time, so they're going to take much longer than the weekend or 10 days.
Sure.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
But then people adjust to it. They get used to the cold water. It's like if you go in the ocean when it's 65 degrees, you think it's cold. But if you go back and after a few times, you get used to it. Like with the interest rates, they
sometimes, from 2.5. I think last year, once again, we're not the policymaker here. We're not to criticize anyone. But in my humble opinion is the market, the interest rate went up too fast and too big gap.
Right, because there were I believe there were 8 increases, 8 Fed increases
last year.
Just in 2022. And then we had our first one in 2023, and maybe our first and possibly our last, or possibly one more.
Yeah.
But the expectation was there that there were going to be that many increases in 2022.
That. I think even last year, look at back end, right? When you give such strong dose, just like if person is sick, I know inflation is a big, big problem, right? And you have a very serious sickness, you want to give a strong dose. But if you give a strong dose, you have to, in my opinion, wait and see the effect rather than just keep a dose, not a dose, not a dose, not a dose. So when you give a too much dose too frequently, it shocked the market. You can see what happened to the bank collapse. You can see, the real estate, and it's just shocked the market. So I think last year a lot of people were shocked in June, but now they look it back, they sort of like get used to it. They turn around and say, okay, that's maybe the new norm, right? Mm-hmm. That's probably, now the market coming back in January. Thank God for that.
Right. Yeah. So let's look at the numbers. The numbers don't lie, and it's pretty indicative of where we're at. If we look at the sales results, okay, for the first 3 months, the homes sold were 1,457. That's down. That's only 65% of the total homes sold for the same first 3 months in 2019. So that's very indicative of the low inventory, right?
There's only a lot of time, right, Ken? I have to say, the other day I went to a Chambers meeting. One friend came ask me, say, Jane, how you doing? I must look tired and horrible. Is how you doing? I said, it's all right. It's okay. Market. How's the market? I said, it's slow. And she looked at me in my eyes and say, Jane, I ask you, how do you compare yourself to 2019 and earlier? And 2020, 21, 22 is one of the lifetime. It's a pandemic. It's one of lifetime. And, God forbid and hope never happen again in your lifetime. But with the challenge, it came to the opportunity. That's why the market was so hot. But that's just one's lifetime opportunity or event, right? So you have to compare with 2019, compare with 2019, how you're doing. So that's really put me back to the right mindset, right? To think about it, right? If you can't say, I'm not doing good or compare with when, but that's also set me to went back to home immediately. I pull out my 2019 number to have a comparison. But to my surprise, the sales definitely lower. In 2019 in general number. But I have to say I'm very proud and grateful. Our team number actually was at a par in 2019, which is what a relief, right? That's right. That's when she asked me, how you doing? I should say we're doing well. Thank you. We have our health, we have our job, we have our clients' trust, and we're doing great.
Because in 2019, the interest rates were lower than they are now. That's
absolutely. So at that time, right, for our result, I think was at a par, but in prepare of today's update, I had we look it up in 2019, and it shocked me a little. So to these quarter is only, it's went down. So it's only 65% of 2019.
Right, because in 2019, we had 2,236 homes sold versus the 1,457 that were sold in the first quarter of 2023.
All these number is from Central Jersey. Yeah. It's only Central Jersey number, MLS.
And that all goes back to the inventory being low, and that's why even though it's a lower number, the sales are moving because the inventory is down.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
All right, we're going to take a short break, and we'll be right back. Hey, welcome back to our show. So we're continuing talking about the sales comparison for the first quarter since 2019. As we said, Jane, in 2019, we had 2,236 homes sold through March. You see the trend continuing in the 2000s all the way up through 2022, with the peak being in 2021 when you had a high of 2,531 homes sold for the January, February, and March period, and then it went down in 2022 to 2,306 homes, and now down to 1,457. So it was pretty continuous, in the 2000s up until this current year. And as we said, that relates to the inventory not being, the homes just not being out there as many.
I have to say, look at this number. That's really our our team number reflect that. In 2021, which is based on MLS, the numbers here, Central Jersey MLS, is the highest in the recent years. And 2,531 homes sold during that period is much more than the 2019, 2020. And that seems like a highest since I got my license, even before I got my license, right? So I have to say in 2021, Mueller team very, very grateful. I was I was really shocked, and I was truly speechless when I saw our team number, almost just a few million shy from the 100 million. It's a 96 and a change, just like a 3-point-some million shy from 100. I was so humbled and grateful for our clients' support there. I could not believe it. Our little team here can do almost 100 million sales business.
And I was going to say that without even preparing this data and looking at the actual figures, being an agent that lives and breathes a market, you could almost, if I were to say, Jane, how many homes, what was the trend? You could probably kind of recreate this in your mind because you experienced what you knew 2021 was going to be the highest. You knew that last year it dropped a little bit, and certainly this year, based on the homes sold that you experienced in your local market, that it went down, and you could have gone back to 2020 and 2019 and probably recreated a very similar trend where it went up to 2021, then down a little bit, and then a drop in 2023. So
absolutely.
So the numbers kind of play out into what you already knew mentally from what you're experiencing.
Absolutely, I totally agree, Ken. That's and we use this number is the number of homes sold. We didn't use the value because we all know the value went up since 2019. It went up pretty much about 25 to 35 depends on when you bought a house and the condition and so on and so forth. So that's why we want to give a clear picture. So we use the number of homes sold rather than the value. Okay, because value went up, the number went up, but the number of sales, 2021, it seems, based on the data here, is the highest number. And I think across the board, like you mentioned, Ken, a lot of professional real estate agent breathe in, breathe out, doing this every day would have the similar experience. Yeah, if not all of us, yes. Mm-hmm. Right. And let's talk about why that happened. What create this only 1,400 and a change homes sold in first quarter, which is 35% lower than 2019. Why? What did it cost it? In my opinion, it's a very low inventory because the buyers out there, it's not like the economy, it's not like we in the downturn, nobody want to buy a house. In contrary, we have a lot of people lined up to buy a house, but not enough inventory.
And let's take it one step further then. Why is there not enough inventory? That begs a question for the listeners. Are probably saying, okay, well, if the buyers are out there, then how come more people aren't deciding to put their home on the market and let the buyer pool absorb them?
I mean, that's a good question, Ken. I think, in my opinion, there's a few reasons. One is the market, as we mentioned earlier, the value of your home went up almost 25 to 35%, right? For example, if you always want to have the swimming pool you never had, which is debatable. Some people like it, some people don't, right? You may only use a few
and during
times
COVID,
in summer.
the demand went up a lot because of the...
And other people, maybe you want to have a very nice sunroom. You always want 2-level great room. You want finished basement, or you want to have a beautiful backyard done with the, cooking, with a gas tiki bar. There's a lot of on your wish list, right? If during the COVID you have nothing to do, really much more free time, and then your house value went up 25 to 35%, and the interest rate went down to as low as 2.53, and the change. So if you call your lender, you said, I want to refinance, I want to get 100,000 out, or 150,000 out, they could work out a deal. Pretty much you paid similar interest rate, right? Monthly payment, right? You get more money out. You can get your house done the way you want it. So that would be like a combined or two reasons why people don't sell. If you refinance your house with a 2-point-some% interest rate. Why you want to sell your house and get a 7% interest rate today, right? That just doesn't make sense. Your monthly payment go out of the whack, right? So that's one reason. Second, because of this, you already refinance, you already build a house, you dream home, you want it in your current home. Why you want to sell your house to
you want
chase
to pack
something?
up and leave, yeah.
Exactly. So that's true. Thirdly, is like, a lot of people in 2021, they already sold. Because that time, a lot of movement, people want to take a early retirement, or the people can work from home, they could just leave. So, to go other places, and then they work remotely or take an early retirement. So a lot of people sold a home
Or the
already.
migration was on in 2020, 2021, and 2022 due to COVID. That already prompted a lot of people to move prematurely, maybe because they wanted to be closer to work, closer to family, and they're already situated. So that might have taken away some of the necessity for people they're comfortable where they are. And like you said, then the low interest rates, they don't want to move. And then thirdly, they might have refinanced and then taken or pulled equity out and to remodel the home, add the sunroom, add the swimming pool. So there's all different. So all those factors together result in a diminished inventory, 40% down from what it was in 2019.
I can't summarize it better again.
That's what I do best. I summarize. You do all the. I try to get cut to the chase and just figure it out.
You're more theory and concept person. I'm more experienced.
You like to do the storyteller.
That's right. That's right.
Right, so there you go.
Yes. So that's why I think let's look at the number, right? And active listing.
So first of all, we should say active listings means that the homes are on the market. They're at price at a certain point. They're looking for a buyer. They haven't been, no offer has been accepted yet. So they're out there.
What's available?
Yeah.
Yeah, just like you go to a supermarket, what on the shelf? Yeah, you can choose from. Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah. In 2021, and which is the highest one in the sales, you can see the available active listing was almost 11,000, 10,709. Once again, all the number we're talking today is based on Central Jersey MLS.
And that was for that was the sum total from January through March. Almost 11,000 homes were listed on the market in the Central Jersey MLS back in 2019.
No,
2021. I'm sorry, 2021.
That's the highest. And then 2022 dropped down to 8,309.
So that's almost like that's almost a 35% drop.
Yeah, almost 20, 25% drop. And then this year, we only have almost not even 5,400, 5,375, but they may have some adjustment later on the data, right? But I think it's less than 5,400, which is 50% of 2021. So, you look at today's sold number, it's like, it's almost like 57% of 2021, about half, right? That's because active listing was available for sale is only half. Because if you compare this year, the first quarter is like less than 5,400. You look at the highest 2021 in recent years, recent decades, right? It's 10,709, almost 11,000. So give and take is about 50%. That's active listing.
So there's a very direct correlation between the number of active listings and, of course, the number of homes sold for the quarter. And it's almost 1-to-1. It seems like the selling rate outperformed because you have about half the inventory, yet 65% of the results of the actual sales. So it's that's why why I think the first quarter is a 63% on the number of 57% and versus active listing 50% means the inventory really tight. The more buyer have to fight for it. So the inventory is half and the sold is 57.5, 56, 58%. It's because even though they're not as desirable as they otherwise they would be, and the buyer still bought it because there was lack inventory, because it's so low inventory. You can feel it, Ken. You can feel it. Now we started getting, hopefully, springs here, after Easter, there's more home on the market. But January, February, it's really not much there. I mean, especially January is really, remember how free I was. Considering the population, you're right. That's not a lot of, that's a very small number of homes for the Central Jersey.
Yes.
For March of only 1,000, less than 1,500 homes on the market.
Absolutely. And we only compared 2021. In my opinion, no point to go back to 2019 or earlier for the active listing, because in the past, before that, a lot of time is they have released it. They may not sold immediately, but the recent years is not much released. So, because in 2029 and earlier, a lot of houses sold on the market but didn't close and didn't sell, and then they released it. So that's count as active listing.
But what's amazing, though, if you take all the economists and you ask them at the end of last year, and you said the interest rates are going to double. Like if we go back to last June and we forecasted, Jane, what's the housing market going to look like at the end of March 2023? I bet if you asked 9 out of 10 economists and you told them it was a guarantee the interest rates were going to be in the 6 to 7%. There was going to be another rate hike in March. What is it going to do to the real estate market? I don't think anybody would have predicted this explosion going on in Central Jersey. It's just such a phenomenal.
Yep. Once again, lack of inventory.
Lack of inventory.
Yep. All right.
Yeah,
that's our report.
That's our report, and then let's see what the next quarter will bring. We'll
wait and see.
All right. Hope everyone enjoys the weekend. We'll see you next week.
Thank you.